Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World episode 200. I'm your host John Jordan. Don't forget to check out my daily email about blockchain gaming. You can find that at gamestx.substack.com. In today's episode, I'm talking to Oliver Loeffler, who is the CEO at Yoya Games. I've been following Oliver for a long time since he's announced his first project, which was then called Angry Dynamites. He's been on the show actually twice before, so this is nice that on episode 200 we sort of complete the arc, so to speak, as what is now called Craft World has gone live actually yesterday on the Ronin blockchain. So that game is now sort of fully live. Everyone's got their airdrop of DynoCoins and everyone can sort of participate in what Ollie and his team have been building over the last couple of years. And why it was a really good timing that Ollie could come on the show. That's because he's spent a lot of time looking at Web 2 mobile games, certainly in the idle category. And now with Craft World going live, he's now sort of really digging into how you can use sort of idle mechanics in Web3, so lots of resource-heavy stuff. It's actually a fully on-chain game, but he's really thinking about how Web3 sort of adds the community aspect and the long-term sort of retention, which is very hard to do in Web2 idle games. So the other interesting thing that comes out, I think, from our conversation is that Ollie is really talking about how it's, even after 2 years, he still feels this is a very experimental project. So by the time you normally go live on mainnet, people sort of feel like they have a good idea of what they should be doing, and maybe that's that shouldn't be the case. Anyway, it's definitely and it's sort of in an expansionary phase now with the main sort of project going live and lots of resources being made. And we talk about a few of the other things he has planned. One of which is called Dynogotchi, which is a sort of Tamagotchi type character, sort of AI agent, but also feeds into the main game, and how you use resources to your sort of Dynogotchi and how that may sort of work out in other ways as well. So I really enjoyed the conversation. Really pleased I could have Ollie on. I hope you enjoy the conversation too. Don't forget to subscribe, and on with the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Very pleased I have, for the third time, Oliver Loeffler from Voya Games. You weren't Voya Games, I don't think, when the first time we started talking, but you are now. How's it going?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for having me. It's always been a pleasure to talk with you about Web3 and gaming. Yeah, thanks for having me.
And it's actually sort of quite nice that I think we've sort of done the whole arc. I think when we first started talking, it was about 2 years ago. You sort of, you had your idea and sort of the NFTs were out, but sort of the ideas were commit to a token launch maybe 6 months in advance and have no idea what the market conditions are then and no idea what maybe the product is. And it's I guess that's one of the key dividing lines between companies that are sort of know what they're doing and maybe have done it before, and companies that are just riding on the wave. I think what you've done with Angry Dynamites really sort of stands out from that just sort of solid. Almost sometimes you see like nothing's happening. I mean, I played the game in testnet for like 2 years, and it's sort of often it didn't change, but that was the feature, not a bug, I suppose, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, for us, like, first we don't want to chase the hypes. No. We did it a bit here and there, but I think every time we did it, we thought like, okay, it was not really worth it because it's such a short-term thing. And oftentimes when there's something coming up and you start developing, like, I don't know, a Telegram version of your game or launch a token, and you're already too late. So we rather want to look forward and very long-term, and that's why not chasing the hype, not launching any financial tokens, just like focus on the product, focus on a good go-to-market strategy. That is also something that we can continue doing in the future. And I've been like that gives us more like this kind of sustainable way. And we are in a lucky position where we don't need to launch a token. We have a long runway still. We are very careful on how we spend our money. And therefore we still have like around 2 years where we can experiment and develop and make the game even more fun without raising new money.
Yeah, I have to say I've not been invited on any parties to the Voya yacht, so that's none of that stuff going on.
we will do one when we actually make real revenue. I think if we actually make profit, I think that we can spend on experiment more on other things, which are maybe more costly. But right now, as we are not sure, like if we really find like the product market fit like long term where we can make sustainable revenue. It's not just about like the short
Hmm.
bursts of revenue, right? It's like, okay, we're making month after month like this amount of revenue, and we can project that also in the future we'll do this. Then we can also kind of do more experiment or create like more community events here and there. But as long as we are not there, I think it's good to invest all of the energy and focus and money on the games itself.
And I guess another way you're sort of different. I don't know what your head count is now, but you kept your head count pretty small, and I think you're all pretty much based in Germany as well. So you're sort of like you're not like these companies who sort of raise some money. I think you raised over 5 million. Some companies would have got 100 people spread around the world and spent it all on a big sort of a trailer or something. We've seen that in the past, and you've just
Yeah.
done the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. We are 11 people right now, mostly based in Berlin, Germany, and in Hamburg, Germany, with
Okay.
one guy in London as well. But yeah, we try to keep the headcount small, rather try to see how we can be efficient, how we can, of course, use AI more in our workflow, and that especially AI is a huge productivity booster, and I think like even with a small team, you can get done so much more than 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So I think that's why we also want to stay small and rather have an excellent team with a smaller size.
But go a little bit into you're playing it all very sort of calm and sort of doing just sort of sailing along and focus on the product. But the just to sort of go back the Project Voyager, which was effectively your sort of play to airdrop sort of campaign for the DynoCoin, which we'll talk about. I mean, that was sort of the first time, I guess, that a wider sort of community started to hear about that, because obviously people were like, "Oh, play to airdrop," and "Oh, I can make some money," and we'll talk about maybe a bit about why that may not be the case. But the numbers on that, you put out some numbers, I think, after about the first 3 weeks, and I think you'd had getting on for like 500,000 sort of players, and I think you talk about sort of sustainable revenue, but I think you quoted like $75,000 worth of, I guess it was people spending RON, because you could spend the RON token to sort of buy boosts and stuff in the game. So that must have been, in some ways, sort of nice to have a little bit of that sort of degen stuff where you do have suddenly hundreds of thousands of people coming in and it being a little bit, because I was obviously playing it and I was amazed how competitive it was for people collecting these crystals to get on the leaderboards, and I was sort of at the start of it, I'm like, oh, I've been playing this game for 2 years, I'm definitely going to be top 100, and I very quickly realised that this is like, unless I was going to stay awake for the next 4 weeks playing your game, I was didn't even get in the top 1,000. It was just people were really, really going for it. So that must be nice as well to have a bit of that sort of excitement.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think we are Degen. I'm a Degen. Most of our teams are Degens, and I think it's a whole new way and a whole new audience that we can attract. And I think we should definitely tap into that, because I think that what makes Web3 unique, and we shouldn't shy away of doing these things and actually doubling down on them, as we did with our Project Voyager. We see it way more as like a play to airdrop system. For us, it's like an actual game where you can complete quests inside the main game in Craft World, but then you still have like a meta game around it. You have like an RPG elements where you equip your dino with gear. You can buy loot boxes and so on and so forth. So yeah, and we see it as like kind of a game in our ecosystem, and we also want to reuse it more often in the future. Like it will
Okay, cool.
probably come in seasons for distributing some more rewards. We are thinking about launching an NFT collection soon, and then we could utilize Project Voyager again to farm for allowless spots or NFTs or discounts itself. And yeah, so even with that, like we see this also more long term. It's not just like this one-off thing, although it's very degen focused, but I think we can repeat the same thing over and over again in the future.
And just on the tech side, obviously I'm not techie, but having pretty much played it every day, it seemed really solid. I mean, I think on the launch day you had some sort of difficulties, which often people do because you get sort of DOS attacked or whatever. But it seemed super solid, and you think all the say hundreds of thousands of people all sort of charging into it, and yeah, it seemed to really sort of stand up well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we definitely had our problems at launch. Yeah, we had like we first didn't expect so many people joining. Then we also, yeah, got some hackers trying to hack the game to get advantages. We had some DDoS attacks. We had a lot of bots directly going in there. And yeah, so it was the first 3 weeks were a lot of firefighting for sure. But I think in the end, it was running really smoothly, and players could just enjoy the game.
Hmm. That's. I'm hoping you had. In a selfish way, I'm hoping you had lots of bots that you're now sort of removing from the reward pool, so I can get a bit of a boost up the leaderboard. But we'll have to
Yeah,
wait and see that
exactly.
one.
Yeah, I mean there's different types of bots. Like I think automatically we can remove the very obvious ones.
Yeah.
They're easy to spot. But now, yeah, we are looking deeper into the top leaderboard and identifying like, okay, are there certain patterns between players? Are they doing the same things? Are they doing something strange? So it's a bit like a manual effort as well as
Mm.
like, of course, we are still using tech and scripts and tools in order to not go through every single account which is on there. But yeah, there's still people in there who like utilize bot that we didn't caught through the very automatic banning, but yeah, they will be excluded, and therefore people will rise in leaderboards for sure.
I have to say, although I've only sort of seen the name in the game, should have a shout out to the number one player. Who's it? Is it Catan? I can't remember what his surname is, but I know
Yeah,
you've mentioned him before that he wasn't a Web3 person. I think you know who he is, but I think he was just someone who really got into the game when it was in the test phase.
yeah.
Sort of situation, and how he got to number one, he was just like had double the amount of crystals of the person in number two, and that was insane. That was like 10 times more than I had. I mean, it's sort of
Yeah.
interesting when you build because you've built big communities around sort of idle mobile games, and they're proper communities, but this is on a sort of totally different sort of scale. I think.
Yeah, I mean that's my favorite story actually, like because that's exactly what we want to replicate more often, and what is
Mm.
basically our mission as Voya Games. Like we think, okay, we have the Web3 Degens, and it's a really good crowd. I always have so much fun with them. Of course, there's a lot of bots and stuff like that, but there's a lot of cool people which are just having fun. But it's still a very niche audience. And if we really want to make sustainable games, and if we really want to make them really big, then we need to onboard more people to Web3, and that's our goal. That's how we designed our game. We made onboarding super easy. You don't need to create an account, no wallet. We do everything for you in the background. You get first look to the gameplay and later learn about all the blockchain technologies. And we are also tapping into user acquisition on more the traditional Web2 side of things. So that's how we got Catan. Never had to do anything with Web3, no wallet, nothing. He saw an ad, he started the game, he was hooked, then he unlocked a few of like more the blockchainy features, joined our Discord, and the community welcomed him and explained him how these things are working. And then he really went down the rabbit hole, and now he's, I would say, our most engaged user. He's playing the game like crazy. He's creating content. He's helping people. He's living in the US. He never left the US until we did a community event
Okay.
actually last year in Berlin, and it was the first time he was leaving the US just to join the event. So he's super excited, and now tapping into also other Ronin communities. I think he bought some Ronka NFTs and a few others. So I think that's exactly what we want to establish. And there's a few more of these examples that we are aware of, but we definitely want to scale it even further.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Ronin there, so I guess we the craft world is going live now on the Ronin mainnet. That's the first time you've had the product. It's been live on the Polygon testnet for, let's say, 2 years, and now you're going live on the mainnet, which is obviously a big deal. So,
Yeah.
there's different blockchains out there. Why was Ronin the one that you decided that was going to be the place for you to go? I'm sure you got lots of nice offers from everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I joined basically through Axie Infinity, the Web3 crowd. It was my
Okay.
first game I tried, and I was always following them because I still think like Axie what they did back then, nobody did it, like with that many new users onboarding and so on and so forth. Got to know Chiho, which is one of the co-founders, and a bit of the rest of the team, and they're super smart. They're also very long-term oriented. The Ronin blockchain is out there for quite some time. They've built a great community of players. There's not like any airdrop farming incentive, at least not direct airdrop farming incentives as in other blockchains that haven't released a token. They survived a $600 million hack and the community still stayed. So yeah, I mean, that's all like kind of aligning very well what we want to do. Like we're not here to jump chains every 6 months or so. Like we want to have a partner on the infrastructure side, but also on the growth and go-to-market side, and they're really excelling here. And yeah, that's why we went there.
And I think from from my point of view, you seem like a good mix with sort of the Ronin community, because they obviously Axie was sort of mobile focused. And obviously you're a browser but you have like apps as well, so there's that sort of similar from that perspective. And also as an idle game, I think that sort of works well for that sort of community. It's very easy to get into. That I mean, I would say the Ronin community is more mass market maybe than some maybe like Avalanche is a bit more sort of core or whatever. But it just seems like that was like a sort of a win-win when they're obviously one of the biggest communities out there, and I think they've obviously they've Axie going for a while and a few other pixels and stuff, but there's not been that many sort of new exciting games coming. So it's not just you get something from them; they sort of really get something from you, because you just imagine everyone who's on Ronin is going to have a go at Craft.
Yeah, I mean,
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, for us it's a partnership, and I think we should support each other. Like we're trying to bring more people to Ronin through the onboarding experience, as I just said. We try to bring like cool games where people can have fun to Ronin, and we're not just like want to go with Craft Worldwide. We want to build a whole ecosystem later on, and bring more games even to Ronin. And on the other hand, they're supporting us a lot with the creators. And go to market, and also like kind of strategic ideas on how to continue developing the game and so on. So yeah, we definitely see it as a partnership, and I think it's something where both sides can profit a lot. And also with the other games on Ronin, I think Ronin also has some really interesting games, I would say, because I have the feeling that the games are more on the experimentation side as well. Like even games who have been out there for longer, like Pixels, they're still doing new cool things, but also newer games like Fishing Frenzy. And it's great to just connect with them and see what they're doing and collaborate and partner up. And that's what I also like around Ronin. It's like, yeah, it's very open for experimentation.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's one of the sort of key things about sort of the long term of Craftworld. I mean, Craftworld itself as a game is sort of an idle resource management game, but it's fairly. I mean, you sort of start off and everything takes it takes you ages to sort of get to where you sort of want to be. There's idle games. There's always sort of you want more resources and you never sort of have enough. But it gets to a certain stage with most idle games where you sort of have a certain amount of power in the world, and it's then it becomes quite hard if you without Web3 to keep people going through the meta, because it sort of becomes more of the same. Whereas what you've done with sort of Craftworld, I think you've had three or four something like that. But you've had these sort of you have masterpieces where everyone in the game sort of comes together to build something, which is a sort of one sort of level up. Then you have these sort of special time limited events where you're collaborating. You have collaborated with other sort of Web3 projects to build and it's almost like it's a new sort of skinned game. It's entirely new resources. And again, it's sort of time limited, so people are sort of trying to collect as much of this resource as possible to again get on the leaderboards. And that would seem, I don't know if you can say anything now publicly, but that would seem so many obvious sort of things that you could do with all these sort of projects on Ronin. To in the past you've given away tokens and all that sort of stuff. I mean that again would seem to be that sort of ecosystem play that would work sort of really well.
Yeah, exactly. We are planning to do a Ronin mega event. I think I can say
The
this
mega event.
already
Yeah.
with some of the communities on Ronin. We want to do more like this in the future. So far, it's always been a lot of fun, and I think that's what keeps games alive and
Mm.
where games can survive for a very long time is live operations, live ops. And that's a term that is also coming more from the Web 2 world. But I think even in Web 3, it's even more important because you have such an engaged community. They want to consume new content. They want to have try out new things, even if they're just like a little bit different. Like the events, of course, they're always a bit different, but it's not like totally new gameplay, right? But that already helps to keep the game alive, and that's what we want to do way more. And on the other hand, I think Web3 offers also way more interesting options. We have like this simple resource management game, but like by opening it up to Web3, we have all of our resources, 25 plus as tokens. They all are tradable for the central currency called DynoCoin, and that opens up a whole new level of depths. And I would say it's almost infinite depth because people could start giving out loans, people could use it in order to give it to other players, to onboard new players, and so on and so forth. Of course, all the trading, arbitrage, DeFi stuff. It just opens it up to a whole new world, and I think that's so interesting about the Web3 integration here.
Hmm. You talk a bit about sort of DynoCoin. So as you say, that's the sort of the sort of currency, basic currency. But as you say, in Craft World, that you have 25 different sort of probably more 25 different resources. You start off with sort of stuff like earth, and then you go to sort of mud and clay, and all the way up to sort of glass and stuff, and then you have water ones and fire ones, and that's I guess anyone who's played those sort of factory games sort of gets the idea about you sort of take 100 of these and make one of those, and then you need 10 of those to make one of the next ones, all that sort of stuff. But the interesting thing now is on the main net, all those resources, all the clays and some of them are algae and sort of weird things. They're all ERC20 tokens, and so the DynoCoin is sort of like the sort of conversion between them all, because you don't really want. There's no point in the game of holding a lot of DynoCoins, but basically you want to sort of maybe sell some resources you've got a lot of, and you sell that into DynoCoin, and then you spend the DynoCoin to get this probably rare resource that you want because you want to unlock a factory or something like that. So how do you think, when people have done a play to airdrop campaign, they sort of generally the idea is, oh, I've collected some of these tokens and I'm going to go to Binance and sell them and get the money. And obviously with DynoCoin, you've been quite clear in everything that it's a utility token, and it's uncapped supply, and it's not speculative. But obviously there's degens will degen. So how will you sort of not have people disappointed that they thought they collected loads of coins that can make them tons of money, and basically all they've sort of got, I suppose, is a position to speed up their game when the game goes on the mainnet. That's really what they've got, not a cash out position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we've been very transparent. We wanted to be different. We don't want to launch a token that's just there for pure speculation. DynoCoin, so you could qualify for DynoCoin drop through Project Voyager, but we will only pay out like right before we go to mainnet, so we'll have instant utility, and I think that's already different from a lot of other tokens that are being farmed with an airdrop. And we expect, of course, there will be selling pressure. There might probably be people who just like farmed it in order to make some money, but we also believe that there will be buying pressure, and people actually acquiring it in order to buy more resources in game. And we always want to establish like kind of this equilibrium, I hate this word, between like the buyers and sellers. We know there will always be like farmers who just sell things. So we are very focusing on finding ways on why people would like rather spend in order to get the DynoCoin to have fun in the game. And I think like if we can manage this, then it can also sustain. But also at the same time, there's a lot of things which I would say DynoCoin has benefits over a lot of other tokens. Like we don't have any insider allocations. The team doesn't have any DynoCoin. The investors don't have any DynoCoin. We didn't do any KOL distribution of DynoCoin, so it's like purely distributed through Project Voyager, and it's all basically community owned. And of course, we will also create some more Dino coins over time. So that's what we're very transparent on. We don't want to commit to any tokenomics yet because we need the flexibility. We want to learn how everything works out, and but we will always be very careful. For us, it's like actually DynoCoin should be more or less like a medium of exchange in order to trade the resources and nothing else. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you have some advantage because, as far as I know, it's not going to be listed on any centralized exchanges. So, in a sense, the only way you can sell it is to sell it into a DEX. Presumably, DEX is on Ronin will support it with liquidity pools. But you're already sort of limited there because there's just not that much liquidity. Whereas as soon as you put something on Binance, then you have to put a ton of liquidity behind it, and then you have paying for market makers to fiddle around with it. I mean, you don't have any of that stuff, so that immediately sort of stops the sort of velocity of people just like selling it off.
Yeah, exactly. Like we probably won't have a lot of liquidity on the DEX, but it's also not the goal here. But yeah, I mean we're saving a lot here. Like launching a token through a centralized exchange is a lot of effort. There's a lot of negotiations needed, a lot of different partners involved. It's almost impossible to not do it without any insider allocations. So. I mean, we all saved this hassle, and it's also very, very expensive. And rather go out there with the DynoCoin, give it to the community, let them have fun with it, let them play the game, and then see where this gets us. And instead of rather building up 100 million FDV or 500 million FDV and trying to pump it as much as possible, like that's not our DNA.
But it's sort of really funny that all the people this year who have tried to do that, and some really sort of big, well-funded companies like Gonzilla and Nexon with the sort of MapleStory token, and I think if you were taking that route, they were sort of, in a sense they were sort of sensible. They did that they didn't do it in a bad way. They did it in the best way they probably could. And even those sort of big companies have seen, their tokens down 50, 60, 70%. So I think that sort of centralized exchange thing hopefully will at some point just go away because it just doesn't, I don't think it works anymore. I don't think it doesn't. It's not sort of fit for the purpose of the game players and the game developer.
I mean, there's definitely advantages to being listed on a centralized exchange as well. I think it's just like you need to kind of be ready for it. You need to have enough things. You have to have enough utility and so on and so forth. And I think, often this is not really the case. I think like too many projects are launching a token too early. I know there's sometimes a lot of pressure from different parties involved and so on and so forth. And I think nobody really wants to do anything bad, and everyone would like to leave the token, of course, at a higher price. And for us personally, we think, okay, we start with a DEX, we start very small. That's what we do with everything. With the game itself, we released a very, very early prototype. You were playing it already. We released these NFT collections very early on, and we rather want to kind of start small and grow big, and not the other way around. And I feel that's at least to us, it's more healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way you can do it. I think when people sort of invent I come up with a token that I totally invent, and I call it's worth $1, and the only reason it's worth $1 is because I say that, and it launches on the DEX at that number. I mean, that's meaningless. And then why would you be surprised if it goes down? The only way you can do is the bottom up thing that you're doing. I think that's very sensible. I don't know how much you can say about sort of what's next. I know you've talked about an ecosystem, and there's some of that in the roadmap, and you have mentioned Dynogotchi. So I don't know how much you can say about that, but obviously the point of having a token is the more sort of experiences you can plug that token into, the more utility, as we sort of say, sort of the more useful that token is, and that may at some point be reflected in price. I mean, it may not always, but what can you say about Dynogotchi? Because that sounds like a sort of fun next project.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tamagotchi type of games, I think, would be very well fitting to the recent AI hype,
Mm.
and also I think to yeah, kind of blockchain and Web3 as a general thing. Like, if you would give like an AI agent a wallet and it consumes in regular interval, like I don't know, some food, and produces some other resources. That you can then utilize in craft world again. Like that's kind of the whole idea around it. So it will be very experimental. It will be very low scale in the beginning. We want to yeah, just see if it works, how it works from a technical standpoint,
Mm.
and yeah. So it's basically an AI agent on and which you can interact with on X, and you can it operates a wallet. You can basically send resources to that wallet in order to keep it alive, and at the same time, it generates some other resources. We are thinking of a shitcoin,
Of
so
course.
a shitcoin, and then yeah, we want to plug this coin into what we call a player-owned economy that connects all of the games in our ecosystem. And then you can maybe use the shitcoin to create fertilizer in craft world, and then
Hmm.
do a farm factory, I don't know, something like this, and you can farm crops and fruits and berries, which you can then feed again to the Dynogotchi. So kind of tapping into this interoperability through the token economy that we want to build up.
Hmm. And there is actually, when you just say that, just reminded me, even within Craftworld at the moment, there is a world map which has been there for a while and has, as far as I know, no functionality. Is there anything you can say about, does that play into Dynogotchi, or what are the plans
Um,
for the map, world map?
yeah, so yeah, we have a lot of plans for the world map, and we started with it, but then we thought like, okay, we rather want to first go to mainnet, and that's why we spent more time in developing Project Voyager and put all our resources there. But we have many great ideas. I'm personally super excited about what we're building there. We summarized it under Era 3. That will be the next kind of big chapter of Craft World, and we will continue to develop here after the mainnet release. So thinking about like that you can own land plots as NFTs. They have
Okay.
special resources on them. It depends like where on the world map you have your land plots. So maybe one land plot is close to a volcano, so your fire production on these land plots are higher, and you can then trade them with others if you not want to do any fire tokens. So it ties way more into kind of the specialization of resources, which we think is very interesting, so that you are not like kind of anymore like kind of try to be the master in all the resource production, but only like
Mm.
a subset of it. So that way you need to trade more with other players, and that's what we want to encourage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the trading aspect is, yeah, really, and that sort of, I guess, feeds back into the DynoCoin, which is the main trading sort of underlying asset as well. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Ollie, for your time. Really looking forward to mainnet after all these years. I'm sure you are as well. And but really exciting thing, I think, for a lot of people is sort of the product goes live and it's mainnet and tokens live, and then sort of it stops. Whereas clearly for you guys, it's really that's just the start of all these other things that we can look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. Like for us, it's really like the start. It was a point zero 01 version, and now we are moving to version one, and there's many things to come, and yeah, we are like the whole team itself is very excited about like yeah, now kind of continue to focus on Craftworld again with all the resources and that we have in the game, or in the team, and yeah, expect a lot of new updates coming after mainnet release to
Good.
Craftworld.
Good. So it sounds like a fourth interview on the podcast will be have to be set up for sometime next year. Cool. Thanks, Ollie, for your time.
Definitely. Thank you. Have a good one.
And thanks to everyone for watching, listening to the podcast, whoever you are consuming it. Please don't forget to subscribe. Every episode we're talking to people who keep the faith and are building out these incredibly innovative and experimental products. Clearly products that can only be built using blockchain, and that's sort of the point of what we're doing. So hopefully you find that interesting. Do subscribe, and we'll see you next time.